There we go.
Ah.
He's listening.
Okay, perfect, perfect, okay.
Thank you.
All right, so if we could call this meeting to order, and I will go ahead and do the roll call in the absence of Ashley, starting with myself, Thad Mayfield present.
Andrew Wells, present.
Dave Marcus present. Stonecrest Industrial Council for its representative from present.
Okay, so we have 4 members here, which I think were 3 members. And we are missing Jetha, Shelvia, who we both knew with Chris, not been here, Ravonna Cosby, who was expected to be here, and I'm not particularly expecting the mayor to be here. And Ravonna is here. So we have a quorum.
Hey, Ravada.
You can sit right here.
Yes, yes, we can do it officially.
Not that it-
And so now that we have, Ravonna, if you would just say you're present, that would officially make us.
Ravonda Cosby is present.
Perfect, perfect. So we have a quorum, and we will move directly into public comment. We have one person from the public here. I don't know if she has anything that she'd like to offer, but here's the opportunity. All right.
Marie Colson, 6547 Chuck Road, State,
Nice shirt.
on behalf of Stonecrest Citizens Academy.
Okay.
I'm here to disapprove of the minutes that was
To
done on
disapprove?
January 30th. Yes,
Oh, okay.
I wish I was here,
Okay.
but I'm just trying to get an understanding, and this is the Economic Development Steering
Yeah.
Committee, right?
Mhm.
So I feel that that last meeting, whoever voted in terms of another committee,
Mhm.
it had no authority. None of y'all had authority to make motions on another committee. That we still waiting on January, the next meeting is on the 20th. The CID committee,
Mhm.
there's no reason that y'all should be in here making motions about another committee.
I'm not sure.
Who has the authority in terms of the CID?
Oh, I
That's what
don't-
the CID is for.
Was there a motion up the CID?
Let's go back into the minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in here making motions. I wish I was here. I wish it was live.
Okay, okay, we'll go through. Are you saying that there's something in
There's
the
no,
minutes
I
that
don't
need
see
to be
you have
corrected?
authority to make a motion. CID matter. I've been waiting for that CID meeting for the next one coming up, hopefully on the 20th.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
no-
okay.
No,
No, there may be a misunderstanding here.
Yeah, it was a comments, Maria, it was comments in the report regarding the CID. It wasn't any motion
Right, regarding the
for-
CID.
regarding the CID.
There
They
was
were
a
just,
motion to do another presentation.
Right,
of that
that,
CID, which was,
no.
It was a presentation for this.
Right, for this group, to give
for the
our,
CID.
no, for our report. Our
the
committee. Yeah. Yeah,
Do we
sure.
have copies of that?
Did you send?
I just see the agenda here. Yeah, I sent it, so.
Yeah,
It's an
Dave
email.
could pull it up. I don't know that I have it on here.
Like technical board of history. I have apparently no.
Okay. Here's what we can do per the agenda. We have an approval of the previous meeting minutes in the agenda, which would have been January. Let's go through the agenda. Let's get the agenda approved. Go through the agenda, and when we get to that item, then we can speak to the concern that, your name again? Marie, Ms. Colson brought up. Okay, can we do that?
Yes.
All right, so, were there any more public comment? Okay, all right. All right, so now, let's move down to the agenda. In our agenda today, we've got the approval of the agenda, the approval of minutes for prior meeting, review of the revised, November 14th, 23rd meeting minutes, a brief update on the economic development actions or news, discussion of the final report to council, which is the primary working item that we have here. actions taken and adjournment. Can I get a motion to approve our agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as read.
Second.
Been moved and properly second that we would approve our agenda as read. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The agenda is approved. Now, approval of the minutes from our previous meeting, which is the question I think that Marie put on the table for us to discuss.
So I didn't see, are these the minutes here? Or are these just agenda?
Those are just agendas.
Okay. Normally in printed form, but I would pull up what I have.
Yeah, pull up what you have, but
The minutes have been sent out. to the- by whom?
they would have been sent out, but with the announcement,
Yeah.
right, the announcement with this
Yeah.
particular meeting, it would have gone out. But just to make sure that we are clear on the concerns that you have before we approve those minutes. Your specific concerns were that we made an approval for the CID. We made a
Putting
motion.
the members in, they're making motions
Mhm.
that should be discussed at the CID advisory committee. It should not be discussed and made motions again.
Well,
That's a conflict of interest.
I think there may be some misunderstanding about what was discussed in the meeting, but we're gonna pull those minutes up. But while we're looking for those minutes, what I can say from my recollection of that conversation was what components of the CID conversation, and I'm paraphrasing that, needs to be included in our report to council. It was not any actions that we were taking on the CID itself. We were responding to comments that the consultant made about CID in her plan, in the economic development plan. So these weren't CID actions. These were comments about what all needed to be
Were you
included.
talking about the motions?
Making a motion to,
Correct. The presentation was for this group's committee, not for a CID. It wasn't for the CID to do anything.
Yeah, so the motion, one motion was made by Representative for the Stonecrest Industrial Council, Bernie Knight, to nominate Vice Chair Dave Marcus to be the presenter of the Economic Development Plan Steering Committee's committee report, seconded by Jethro Wagner. And then the first motion made by Vice Chair David Marcus to a letter from the Economic Development Plan Steering Committee be submitted to Mayor Pro Tem via the Secretary Andrew Wells that suggests that the City Council hold a public hearing for presentation of the Economic Development Plan to coincide with the time of the report of the consultant. That includes time for questions from the public and answers from staff regarding the contents of the Economic Development Plan. Prior to formal adoption of the Economic Development Plan by City Council, seconded by Representative for the Stonecrest Industrial Council.
And I think that's entirely accurate. I thought Jeff was saying.
She did
She did
the one where,
Got it.
the first one I read.
So those two things are not what's in
Right.
question. It was what you felt our committees saying and commenting on something for CID. Is clarity, do you have clarity now that we just thought that, is there anything in that CID that we should consider here and vice versa? But we weren't giving direction to the CID committee. And we,
No,
Right.
no,
No.
no. Mm-mm.
no, it's okay. It's a lot, it's a long motion.
Yeah, we'll be discussing the portion of this study, of this report, which deals with reports, make recommendations about the CID.
Our report, portions of our report, this committee's report. Well,
It's a response to the consultant's report.
Exactly.
yes, yes.
Exactly, which, I'll make my case then, but that no one knows that I'm opposed
That you're opposed to what the consultant is saying.
to. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's in-
And one of the things I guess that I would offer here, and this is certainly up for discussion, is that our report gives us the opportunity to provide feedback both to the Economic Development Department and include in our report, our response to the consultant's report.
Right.
I don't think, and this is where we probably want to have a discussion. I don't think that we are in a position to determine what's included in the economic development plan. And our response to that can only be in the form of input to the direct.
I don't disagree with that. I do think we are in a position as individual members of the committee to state objections
Oh, yeah.
to portions of the consultant's report
Okay.
on various grounds. And, so
Right, and that's one of the reasons why, as we were discussing earlier, if, this is just kind of a dialogue now, on the components that are actually in the report as outlined in the draft that I sent out, which include purpose, finding, within the finding, there is our finding, that is our response to the finding. The content of the report, which is what Jetha responded to and what Dave responded to in writing. And then our process, how we came about, how we went through this process, how we made decisions essentially in summary form. And then our set of recommendations. And then finally, our conclusion for the report. But that is how our report is categorized. So our input with respect to the concerns that you have about the report should be found within that layout, as opposed to directing the consultant to change something in their document.
Were some of our recommendations outside of a response to the recommendation of the consultant? We had some of our own.
yes,
There were some, which is where I thought we wanted Dave to make the presentation, that Dave was going to present those differences, those things in a committee meeting with the committee's meeting with the city council.
Mhm.
Right. And that may be, I'm not sure, that may be where the notion that there were quote unquote two presentations, because that was the discussion that we had at the time.
Well, there were two presentations because the consultant presented last night.
Right, which really would have been a third in terms of the conversation that we had.
And Bernie, if I may, and this, you said
Please.
it's up to you guys, but I think it might behoove the committee better to just, in the recommendations, say strike, text from the plan, everything regarding CID's recommendation from the committee is the following, and that way this is the, your opinion is strike.
well, right now, what we have is some background of the CID.
Yeah.
But also the one directive sentence says more emphasis should be given to the potential for thriving industrial CID.
Right, that's a recommendation, I put that in the recommendation, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was from the conversation that we had in the last meeting, and it was included in Jetha's comments in terms of her input to this report.
What
She included it.
for me, it's a little bit less of a bashing the plan, a little
Right.
bit more, this is what we recommend.
Right,
And that way because the plan is a plan. It's
Right.
not a first start, that's done. This is your final draft, so it is complete. So now, to even start off with good first start, like this is finished. So
So I'm saying that even if there are obvious errors still in the plan, they cannot be corrected at this point. And why
Right.
is that?
not unless the council
Right.
recommends that.
and the way that
I would
I'm,
say From
and-
the software industry,
Okay.
two things. One is the perfect software release never is released.
That's true.
And the second is protection is not cost.
Well, and understand that it is the consultant,
Right.
professional opinion.
Right.
That this is the way that. it is.
correct,
And that's what we paid for.
Right.
And now, and so, to me, again, your recommendations are that's the add to.
right.
They don't fall on deaf ears, is what the
Right.
mayor has
Well,
assured us, that you pay for it, deliver it, we all understood that. You now have it from a professional that's qualified. to bring it.
Correct.
Let me,
We walked alongside that process, we had recommendations over and above based on skill sets, and we gave responses to the recommendations.
Correct.
Well, that was our charge.
Correct.
Let me just recap what happened with the current version of the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
This was several years ago.
Comprehensive plan or economic?
Sorry?
The comprehensive plan or the economic?
The comprehensive plan.
Okay.
I'm just.
You're just giving an analysis.
Why it's
Mhm.
tough. There were approved by the city council. Sent on up to the Department of Community Affairs and approved by them. Came back down, and at that point, city council, at the urging of certain stakeholders, revisited that plan because there were certain very obvious errors, factual errors. City council revised that plan, sent it back up to the Department of Community Affairs, which approved it, and that became the plan that we had.
Right.
So my point is that I don't think any of us should really be thinking that this thing right now is written in stone as far as undisputed factual errors that are still there. And one of the things I'm going to point out tonight is two very serious errors in the maps, which I do believe should be corrected. And it really makes a difference to the industrial stakeholder. And these errors are both in the industrial district, Stonecrest Industrial District. Okay?
Right, and that's, those are fair comments. Now, 2 points that I will make, because I mean, we're moving with a set of dynamics here that we all need to understand. And I'm gonna sort of put the bookends to this, or at least certainly the stop to this, and that is that by noon tomorrow, our report needs to be in
And I'm
to,
certainly cognizant. of that.
okay,
That's right.
so whatever changes or in additions that, other than what we've already got,
That's going in.
this is going in at noon, so that's what I'm saying, whatever additions that you want to make, please do that. I'm not trying to discourage that. Make them as tight and as briefly as you possibly can, so they're easy to fit in order to meet the
Well, I
deadline.
certainly think.
Here's a question, because I'm hearing what you say, and our organization struggles a lot with incorrect maps that don't represent our national heritage area and other people's documents that go around the state.
Right.
And it drives us crazy. We
Right.
work to really get it right. Having heard what Bernie said, although that document is where it is, it's paid, it's on the shelf, we're gonna implement it the way you see fit and use our recommendations as a city. Knowing if there are glaring errors or maps, can't you still operate in data correction inside the Office of Economic Development, even if you don't go back on
Absolutely.
record? That's like if they put Stonecrest in there, they spelled it with a K, I guarantee everything that we did going forward, we put a C. That's been very loose.
Yeah,
But won't his information, if it's glaringly wrong around maps, be processed rightly in your office? You won't just keep operating on wrong.
no. And I would add
I
to
mean,
that.
because that,
Yeah, your
that's a
work
minor
plan
one.
allows you to
It is.
adjust that.
No, it is. And let me add this,
You were not here last time. Okay. Right now, I'm representing it in the industrial. They've gotten a warning notice from code enforcement claiming that a half-acre parcel that they have that is being used for a certain purpose is actually being used as a parking lot, which it is not. Now, this error arose last year when Ray White was planning director, and he and his group put together a map that purported to show all of the gravel parking lots in the city. There were big errors. I pointed out the errors at the time, including the error about this particular half-acre lot. Ray and Trey John both assured me we're going to get it fixed. It ain't been fixed. And here I have a client, and I'm having to defend them against a criminal citation based upon a completely false fact, which is shown in that report from last year.
But in that instance.
and here's why, because this.
So that's why it's trying to get these reports
All right.
done right.
Go ahead.
In that instance.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on
In
1 second.
that
Dave.
instance, there were two problems. One was the list or map,
Yes.
parking areas was incorrect. The other was that the code enforcement officer did not do due diligence and verify with his eyes that there was.
What I've been, I get you, but what I've been told is that code enforcement, their hands are tied. That they depend upon what the planning director is doing. This report originated with the planning director. So it's up to the planning director. Otherwise, code enforcement is going to go ahead and write citation, even though it knows that there's,
Okay, go ahead,
Just for the purpose of this example, I am curious what these images are.
Christian. go ahead.
Sure.
It looks like a-
Okay, there are two maps here. This is on page 20. Excuse me, ma'am, but you're not a member of this committee.
Hold on.
That's not,
I'm a resident of.
you're not a member of this committee. You're
Hold on,
on.
hold on. Go on, Dan.
That's,
Go on.
Thank you.
Bernie.
Be
Thank you.
respectful with
I
that,
will
please.
be, but, all right, this is the map, this is on page 20, and it purports to show, the transportation map. Right there, it's showing a road which no longer exists. That is Coffee Road. There are two remnants of it left, but it's showing all of Coffee Road as existing. Coffee Road was abandoned by the county in 2008. The Home Depot warehouse.
Are you talking about the white line?
Yeah,
Are
I'm
you
talking, yeah, this one right here. The Home Depot warehouse and the Pepsi warehouse currently sit on top of where Coffee Road was. Now, this is something that I've tried to get taken care of, and I've had to remind Stonecrest GIS, Tab GIS, get Coffee Road off of their backs.
Or can you show me the other one?
Yes, right here. This is showing a rail line, a CSX rail line right here between the main line and up here. That spur line no longer
Can
exists.
you mark it on the?
Yeah, I can. In fact, what I can do is, it's right there. Right there.
And just mark it off?
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm gonna do, in the interest of time,
Mhm.
is Bernie, I will alter that.
Thank you.
I will remove those. Everything in that way, it was just done. I will recommend.
I appreciate that.
In the presentation. I know you're very very emotional about this, and I understand. I appreciate it, and I know how important it is to you.
I just don't want to have to deal with the after effects 2 or 3 years from now. and have fun.
Well, and so also in the presentation that I give, which will come after you,
Thank you.
I will sit there and state that Bernie feels very, very, very strongly.
The industrial company.
But okay. Yeah, and I will
Thank
make
you.
sure to state it correctly.
Thank you, sir.
Everything that this wording be changed. And so, and I will ask the council to please, this is one area where this is felt very strongly, it is up to them. But as far as anything else, all further recommendations and any changes to the plan are done this way. And it is up to council whether or not they change that text.
Correct.
I understand.
Right. And let me go ahead and address that real quick so we can go back into our meeting. Once the public comment section is over, that's the time limit for which public input can be involved in the process in terms of the committee discussion. So that's why he was trying to push back on your comments during the process.
Either way.
Because- No, right, but I'm saying that all of the discussion, which is what he was trying to address, was to try to make sure that we kept the conversation at the table where it needs to be.
Either way,
As far as
I'd prefer
any
that.
additional information that you get, I'm gonna have to defer to Christian in terms of what information you get outside of this meeting.
Okay, well, let me put it this way. I expect civility in meetings with me. I have a personal code of ethics and conduct.
Yeah.
And I will not defer from it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that we get worked up, but Marie is a citizen. She's an important person.
Right.
And we have to respect each other
Right.
and be respectful. I wouldn't talk to you that way.
Well, no, I understand, but you allowed her to name me at this last CID.
Well, let's stay on track here. Let's stay on, let's.
Guys, We're off
Order,
track now.
yeah.
Guys, we're off track.
Let's come to order. Let's come to order.
We're off track.
Let's come to order. Okay, so we've got a workaround for Bernie's concern, but what I would also add, and I'll make 2 points here, and then we can go on with the discussion about editing the report, is that from my perspective, certainly, that is the value of this committee's report to council. One of the things that happened that was apparent last night was that in the council meeting, when the presentation was given by the consultant, that there's a lot of information the council will have to consume in order to process this report. And so in order to make sure that the committee, in its fidelity to its responsibility to council, highlight those things that we want to make sure is that are highlighted. Because this won't be a part, although it'll be an attachment to the report that the Economic Development Department will provide to council. This is a separate letter going to council, which will be distinct from the voluminous plan itself, which will call their attention to certain things. So they will have several documents to refer to as they go through the plan that will give them the correct guidance that they need for corrections, including our report. So that's why I think it's important that, to the degree that you can bullet your items, your concerns, as part of the recommendations, although Kristen's going to take care of those things for you with respect to the map. If you can bullet those things and get them to me tonight, I can make sure that they're
Because that was
included.
my next question, where all those things in there.
Perfect. All right. Yeah.
Everybody. And in fact, what I can do is I can just briefly summarize them now whenever.
No, send them in type them out, type them out.
I'm sorry?
Send them in an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will we have an opportunity to go over at this meeting?
We're going, what we're gonna do in this meeting is go through the report, make the edits so that we can get the final report to Christian before noon tomorrow.
Great.
And that's why we want to try to go ahead and make haste on this. Okay? Go ahead. So we're all straight. All right, good, good, good. We'll wait till Ravon to get back after she gets some more.
What is our end time tonight?
Well, it should be 7:30. That's my expectations. And I would think that we could be able to do this in an hour's time or less than an hour's time. And so that's why we want to make sure that we stay on point.
And control our verbos.
Yeah. Yeah, stay on point. Because there's not a lot here, even in the red that Dave has provided in his response. I've got some pushback on a couple of items that he has in red. But we will go through this report and then we will add your items that you will briefly provide to us before midnight as a part of.
Right, I'd be able to supplement this orally here at the meeting right now.
Yeah, you can talk about it, but I still will want them in writing. So
Of
we're
course.
very clear on what it is that,
I just wanted to familiarize you all with very brief.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay. All right. So Dave was the first person. So now we are on, well, before we get to that, do we have any responses to the reviewed or revised minutes from November the 14th, which was also part of this agenda for 2023?
Just as a reminder, that is where we made the corrections to make sure that we noted that Bernie is not here on his own accord, but as a representative of the Stonecrest Industrial Council, and that you are not here of your own volition. You are here at the behest of the Arabian Mountain Alliance. So if you look at the November minutes, even the motions were revised to make sure that it's.
Our organization.
Thank you.
We approved those.
It was just a condition
Right.
of approval.
Right.
Yeah.
So we also approved, we did not meet in December.
Mhm.
So we then need to approve the January.
The
minutes.
January minutes. which we
Right.
had.
We do.
And I would move that we approve the January minutes as sent to my.
Okay. Need a second?
Second, that.
Got to move, it's moved and properly second that we approve the January meeting minutes. Any discussion?
And thank him for his work on it. I think he did a great job.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? No other discussions? All in favor of approval of those the January minutes? Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. The minutes for January are approved. Brief update on economic development actions or news. Christian?
Yeah, this month has been pretty busy. We've got a think tank on tourism. Only tourism focused businesses are invited to that. But anything in that would be March 7th. And then we've got the small business training series starting that same evening, which will go for 6 weeks. She reviewed a
Right.
couple months ago.
Right. Did you get a
and,
response, by the way, from? the
yeah.
referrals? Okay, good.
Yeah. So, we've got, a lot of positive motion going in a couple of different business attraction efforts that I can talk about openly. But I think it's been good. We did lose Ashley a week ago. She resigned. So we are now on the street for 2 positions, and that will be where that's at.
Okay. Did you hear that the ribbon cutting for Pepsi was postponed?
Yeah, I talked to, so I'm working with their national team on that, and the idea was to wait till it's a little nicer outside. They want the flowers to be.
Okay. All right,
Anything else?
thank you. All right, perfect. Let's
Good
move
stuff.
right into item E. The discussion of the final report to council.
And I would suggest we simply go page by page and more robust paragraph by paragraph by saying things such as, does anybody have any comments on page 1?
Okay.
Regarding,
Yeah, that worked well.
Yeah, that's a better thought.
If that's a motion, I second it.
No, it's not a motion. This is just process, right? You got, yeah.
The end.
Okay, let me make sure. This is.
So where are we now?
Yeah, no, let me comment on this first page.
Yep.
On your first page that we've got here. Now, when I went through this, I was wondering whether or not, any of these things have been corrected, that we wouldn't have to include in this report. Particularly as it relates to grammatical error. That one I really wanted to strike because it wasn't specific enough. And I wanted to leave that to the deference of the Economic Development Department and the consultant to address any grammatical errors rather than.
I'm fine striking that.
Yeah, and the second thing was, I guess that what was most important was whether or not Jeth's attributions are accurate in their plan. Where I think that he said that it should be Avila Development LLC, where it has Avila Properties. My inclination was to take these corrections, if you will, and either add them as an addendum or to send them as direct input to the Economic Development Department for corrections as opposed to being a part of the report. Those were my inclinations, so I'm just giving my thoughts.
You're just referring to these on page 1 to Bible 1, right?
Correct,
You just.
and the first one at the
just
top of
strike
5.
the corrections-
Absolutely.
The corrections section.
Right, the correction section.
Question, sir.
Mhm.
I think that Jetta is working off the version,
She was,
okay, so the pagination.
right, yeah, we're not,
Is
yeah.
that accurate? Is that page 22 of the final thing that we presented?
No, and it won't matter, because I'm gonna take the page numbers off, because my suspicion would be, or I would expect to be that, in addition to a whole section being dropped, because Christian reminded us of that, once they put in these graphics, all kinds of pagination changes. will take place. Yeah, and so rather than having us weed through all of those changes and making page numbers associated with it, I would recommend that we remove all page numbers.
So you might look for these things by heading or section.
Yeah, you might, yeah, if you want to use headings, we can do that by heading. But my recommendation would be that the report stands on its own, without having to give directions, quite frankly, to reviewing the plan.
I'm with you.
As long as the content is there, I mean, it's up to the
Yeah.
consultant to find the correct page number.
Well, this report would be going to council. And so, right, for our report to council, this is not giving direction to the
Oh,
consultant.
yeah, then I'm in agreement.
Okay, so we're removing this section and additionally, remove all page numbers.
Okay,
Brings us to plan content, some wording changes.
okay. Right, now, the first response that I would give is that I saw where you had read it out, starting baseline and removing that and replacing that word with good. Now, the reason that I think it's important to remind council from the committee's perspective, at least certainly from my perspective, that this is a new plan. This is an inaugural plan. And that good, I think, would overshadow the fact that there are some opportunities for improvement in this plan. And without being what I would consider, disparaging with respect to the plan, is to simply state that this is a baseline attempt, baseline effort, rather than simply grouping it as good, because I think good leaves too many room for various interpretations.
And I don't think we were to grade
Yeah,
in
and
that sense
yeah,
on a scale. So
Right, right.
if it started with the plan provides base information, with which the city can begin the process, that's very true.
Right.
Those other things about our thoughts around if it was good or a great start.
right. And the other point, I think there's another point that you're making here, and this is on another page, but I can just wait till we get there, but it has to do with the use of the word excellent. And again, I think that's another gradation or grading
I
exercise.
think it does behoove us, though, to give praise to the consultants.
And I don't think this report,
Probably more praise than it deserves, simply to be collegial and to ensure that this is not taken in an adversarial, condescending manner.
yeah, I think when you, at least from my perspective, I think when you read the report, I don't think there's anything in here that I would consider adversarial. And I think the report, this is not a diplomatic document, if you will. This is from my perspective. This is a top line report or review of a report from a consultant without being disparaging. And so I think candor, to the degree that it doesn't get into disparagement, is appropriate. Because I think it needs to.
Well, I would just assume pat them on the head and then give.
Well, and I'll leave that for the people who give them the check. Yeah, I'll leave that to the paper. Yeah, I'll leave that to the paper. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the consultant. I just don't think that.
Okay, I will restore the third line to what it was of this planned content paragraph.
Right. Now and I did have some comments on the second one for those of you, and if you're hesitant, I'm trying to make sure we get through this quickly unless somebody else has a comment. This is on the measurable, attainable, and
Just
science.
real quick, real quick. I just want to make sure, because what I heard Dave say earlier, and I definitely agree, and I think I heard everyone else agree. Just to make sure, we've gone through a page, basically, page and a quarter. We're good, no other changes, right? Nothing in the purpose, nothing, everybody's good.
Oh, no.
Okay, we're just good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Yep.
Now, on B, item B, where he's adding measurable, attainable, and time bound. I agree with that in principle, in terms of setting goals. I actually think that this would call the current plan into account because it doesn't do that.
It gives deadlines or timelines in the table in the back.
And it does say the city can begin the process of
Mhm.
defining
Right.
SMART
Right.
goals.
Right.
That's who I think needs to do it.
That's what it says.
Yeah,
But it does have some timelines
Okay.
to it.
all right. We'll go with that.
And I said that I do not know what the really.
Yeah, this was a Jetha,
I think we've already said a version of it.
yeah, was this Jetha? This might have been me.
I think it was.
Essentially, what I'm saying here, or my understanding of this, is that you're talking about D now, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Is that this is what the plan provides. It provides a phased approach, if I understood the plan correctly, a phased approach to the economic development infrastructure. There are like 4 or 5 components to how to organize it, who to organize it with, and that's what I thought the plan was doing.
If the
Now, I may have
word-
misread that.
If the word was not prioritized, but simply used, that
Okay, that's fine.
would make sense to me.
Okay, I'm good with that.
We're striking part.
And replacing it with used.
Good.
Okay.
What are we striking and replace with used?
The word
Word
prioritize
prioritize.
after D, after,
Plan content, bullet D.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we now come to a meta problem, which is that a lot of this feedback duplicates and supports what's in the recommendations, and Tad had responded to that saying his intent was
right, yeah.
this be background to the recommendation. I
No,
think there's
yeah.
good material here.
Let me explain it to you first. these were, all of these inputs that are, particularly the ones that are numbered, came directly from Jeffa,
They did.
and I put them directly in this document. I underlined in this piece of it, and I expect the words that are underlined to be stricken. I underlined them because I interpreted those as recommendations that she was making, rather than comments about the plan itself. And so as a consequence of that, or resulting from that, I'm expecting that we would strike some of this content out and simply, because it is duplicated in the recommendation. I just wanted you to see where the recommendations came from Jeff's comments.
If I could jump in.
Please.
You may recall that I sent an email saying that
You echo, yeah, you endorsed everything.
adopted it for comment. Now,
Right.
I will tell you that, to my knowledge, this page 40 comments are drawn, she's drawing upon the 2013 LCI plan, which I do believe grocery supermarket was part of the emphasis and recommendation of that. And it's been something that's been discussed for the last decade within the Stonecrest Business Board, that there was a need to do that. So
It's also included in the plan, by the way,
in
in the economic development.
Bernie, what do you suggest?
well, I'm not sure that it's redundant to say that attracting the quality makers grocery.
It is indeed redundant to the recommendation section.
That's,
Right.
That's where the redundancy is.
Right, that's what he's referring to, the redundancy. The redundancy, when you look at the detailed feedback,
Just what I'm saying is that this is something that matters so acutely and regarded to the business alliance that even if it is redundant, it's something that really bears repetition.
no. Let me make sure that we're understanding each other. What Dave is referring to, the redundancy that he's referring to, is in our report. That we're saying it twice in our report.
Where
Right.
else is? I'm not-
It's in the recommendation, right?
It's
And
in
I,
the sentence that says priority should be given to finding food in a grocery store in terms of poverty.
right.
That's elsewhere.
It's elsewhere in this report.
is.
And what I'm explaining is that,
I withdraw what I said.
Now,
right. And what I'm, Mhm.
What I'd like to say is,
Okay.
I think most of this
Mhm.
should get moved to that recommendation, just as background for it.
well,
Not quite all of it.
okay. Well, yeah, we'll have to do some parsing on that because I just want to make sure that we don't over butcher Jeff's comments about the plan, her perception of the plan. Right.
Personally, I think that we should strike the first sentence where it says Stonecrest Food Desert. From there through the end should be simply moved into the other.
Strike Stonecrest as a food desert.
No, strike the sentence. Page 4817 reference is made.
Oh,
But see, that is actually a response to the plan.
As a committee, is it the response that we want to make?
And I'm saying Jeffa wants to make that response. She sent it to us, and that's why I think it needs.
and is just a end user.
Well, and the, right, and,
Hey, then I'll move the whole thing.
To that.
no, I'm saying, I don't think, what I'm saying is that what this represents to me is her response to the plan, that all of this does not belong in the recommendation, just the part that is in fact recommendation.
I just don't see why we should have it in two places.
It's not, yeah, and I'm saying that it's not in two places. Show me where it's in two places,
Okay, we have this, on page 40 paragraph,
okay?
and then on page.
Recommendations are on page 5.
The very last bullet on page 5.
Where it says-
part-time tractor farm neighborhood growth.
The last bullet at the
Yes.
bottom of page 5.
And
Right, and that's where you see the line
Right.
that's underlined?
Yeah.
Attracting a quality grocery store. That's where I sort of paraphrase what Jeffa had to make the recommendation with the expectation that we would strike this underlined word out.
And I just don't
Yeah.
think that we should. I think it will be a better read for the council,
Okay.
and a better sale for this item,
Okay,
simply to move all of this text into the recommendations.
yes, I disagree with that.
Not just the one tagline that just says make it a
Right.
priority to attract neighborhood.
I mean, the lack of quality housing affecting the ability to attract quality jobs and economic growth is key.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
disagreeing
but
with it
two
as
very
key.
separate issues, though.
Yeah, I think we're talking
Yeah.
from my read of Jeth's input, based on a template that we have. There are two components to it. Jetha is responding to what is in the plan, which is what this part of it is. Within that response, she makes a recommendation. I underlined what I interpret as her recommendation so that we know that that's what that she's recommending is a grocery store. I'm saying if we accept that as her recommendation, we strike this line out of this portion of it.
What David's saying, why not take that entire paragraph, put it right at the end of page 5, in place of that one.
Because
sentence you have in the bullet
because it
point.
then takes away from her response to the plan.
Okay, so we want to protect the integrity of her comment.
And her comment does two things. One of them is to respond to the plan, which is a sentence reference is made to unmet demand for grocery. Stonecrest is a food desert. That is her response to the plan. What her recommendation is, based on that response to the plan, is that we attract quality neighborhood growth, which is separate from her response to the plan. It is a recommendation that the city council needs to consider. That's the distinction that I see clear.
I do see that as a distinction.
Right.
But I also think it's perhaps more important to have the reason for a recommendation where you have the recommendation. And the way it is, the reasoning is split from it. So I feel, I'd say fairly strongly about putting the whole thing on page 5.
And I feel strongly the other way, and I guess that, let's come
I
back
don't
to
think it
this.
hurts us to put it there.
But I'm trying to make sure that.
Because
we don't-
I'm reading it and I'm
Mhm.
thinking in my mind, am I put off? Am I confused? And I'm none of those things. If I imagine this backup, I'm gonna call it. You understand what I'm saying? At the end, like I'm not jarred by that in any way. Maybe we've got too much context and maybe we're,
Around
you know,
the
we've
recommendation.
got so much context, we're like, well, wait a minute, it has to be said. But if I'm just sitting here and reading that doesn't necessarily jar me or cause what you under.
Is that,
But I think Edward was doing it.
Yeah, I am. I think it's not, I'm not jarred by moving the whole comment down there, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I guess I guess my concern about the read on this document is twofold. One, I want it to be as short as we can make this report so that it gets read and that it can be easily read.
So we're just moving it,
Right,
we're
right.
not changing one.
Right. And I'm saying that to move it takes away her response to the plan. It simply moves her response to the plan and turn it all into recommendations, which is, I think, distinct from what she sent. I think she's done two things in this piece, and I'm saying to lump it all as a recommendation, I think. And what you're suggesting, I think, is that bringing all of this to the recommendation gives context to the recommendation. Is what I'm
Yeah,
under-
there's
right,
reason for it.
right. And I'm saying, I think the reason is given in her response. You think they ought to be together. I think they ought to be separate, is what I'm hearing.
Straw man vote. I mean, I'll go either way. I'm not gonna argue it further. It's not worth
Right. So I'm saying, let's leave this and come back to it. So we can get through the plan and then we can come back and if we have time to argue it over, we will. We'll do something to make it.
Once we're done with this page, we're done with
Not necessarily. Now, you may feel that way, but I don't think that's it.
it. 30.
Yeah, 7:30. So that's why I'm saying, let's go through it. This one we're hung up on.
So right now,
Come back.
the direction is to remove the underlined sentence from this.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. I had the question of why the Turner Hill corridor necessarily.
Why the Turner Hill corridor?
and I just kind of view that as your retail center and district area in Stonecrest. And so when I say that, I don't mean smack dab always on Turner Hill, but around it's more non-natural.
It's certainly not the center of Stonecrest. Geographically,
But
we
yeah.
want to.
What geographically?
Yeah, when I read this, I was curious, where did this question come from?
My question.
Right, but I mean, within the context of Jetha's comments, where does this come out to you?
He says to do it, to attract it in the
And
Turner
the
Hill
Turner Hill
Road.
Road corridor, he refers to putting that growth corridor.
Oh,
And I'm
okay.
saying, why?
Yeah, what's unique about the corridor?
Oh, okay,
It's Dave's
okay.
question. I
Yeah.
get what's
Right,
unique
right.
about
And,
I think I can.
okay, right, right. And that's why, when you said we were gonna strike this underlying one, it goes away.
Yes, but it is whole cloth on page 5. Or
it. There's some,
And I think I know what the origin of that is. Turner Hill Road corridor is the main artery in the 2013 LCI plan. And that, I believe, it really is what the background is for what Jeff is saying with that entire paragraph.
I just say remembering that District 5 is the least dense of the population. That if we were trying to solve a food desert problem, we would have a map.
Well, we wouldn't, we wouldn't be trying to solve any problem. We're only giving recommendations.
Deeper than we are in this sense.
Yeah.
Making certain quality comes to.
Stonecrest, right, that's it. Yeah.
Someone's gonna do the homework on where and how, and whoever that person is gonna know what place to store.
Right, right,
And Whole
exactly,
Foods,
exactly,
Trader Joe's, Kroger,
exactly,
Lidl, or whoever's next.
right. So I just
They
didn't mess
do
with,
that part.
I just didn't mess with Jetha's
And this-
comments.
So should we leave it at Turner Hill? Or just?
We can take it out. I mean, if we can take it out even in the recommendations from my perspective, I just move the sentence to recommendation.
I mean,
I would say
I'm
because
fine
it's in
with
the
it.
substance.
I'm fine with leaving it as is, because it's a recommendation. And it is her opinion, and we were all brought here for her opinion. So I think that sometimes Christian will see one and be like, yeah, but I got a better spot over here. Or the council will be like, yeah, I want to put,
Okay, my question is answered.
Yeah. The grocery, I think the
So that's
grocery
where I'm
store will
at
make
with
that call. but-
that's where I'm at with it. Yeah, the grocer's gonna drive the bus. But the point I'm making is that, like, let's preserve.
Yeah,
you know,
I just was trying to understand, I was just trying to understand Dave's
Why
point.
don't we, instead of saying in the Turner Hill Road corridor, we can substitute something like in areas of Stonecrest with high density dense residential populations, something like that. So that we think in Turner Hill, we think in other areas too. But why not, why one?
It makes me just wanna say grocery, because I think we're overthinking it.
Yeah, I think so,
Tell
yeah,
them where to
yeah.
put it.
Yeah, I'm
So-
trying
so
to
maybe-
keep it as simple as we can.
Maybe Dave, to Dave's point and to the point you just made, maybe we just take the whole
Turner Hill out.
road off.
Yeah.
And just say,
Just
we
take Turner
want a
Hill.
grocery.
Attracting a quality neighborhood
We need a
growth
good one.
is imperative.
Yeah.
Yeah, strike.
Yeah, I'm with that.
All right.
Okay. No, no.
I am meeting out of town guests who are arriving at my house about now. I'm meeting them next rest of the day.
Is that on
You got it.
Turner Hill
That's what's on your,
Road?
yeah.
That's right.
Same thing about this sentence is move the recommendation, so you want to add emphasis to that word, to that sentence, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
We're on page 3.
Number 3.
Good English.
So I'm putting the emphasis on page 6 or wherever it is.
Right.
Where is that? Yep, already put on page 6. Oh, we're good there.
Right.
Okay, so we delete the sentence here. Strike it.
Right.
And I would also recommend that where it says the fact that over 50 of these companies, I would just replace it with the fact that many of those companies, rather than assign a particular numerical value.
Anybody agree?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Next one. But we strike that these departments should be encouraged. We strike that from, and the number from that paragraph. Because all of those underlined, just as a recall, as reminder, all of the underlined stuff gets struck, stricken from this.
We're talking about, the page 51 paragraph,
Correct, and the number. Both those up.
we're striking the entire thing.
No, we're striking the number, the page
Right.
number, and we're striking the underline.
I do have, an observation to make about this. I was very pleased to see that the final report that was in the agenda package last night does have an entire page. And I think it says essentially this, doesn't it, Christian? And it actually has the, well, actually, come to think of it, I was so pleased that I actually made a copy of that,
Okay,
and here we go.
excellent.
So I think really, yeah,
Are you making an editorial
Yeah,
suggestion?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Or you want
understand.
He's actually liking the
Which
plan.
paragraph are you suggesting?
Bernie's been here too long.
I think, this, page 58 of the report actually kind of covers this material.
So you think the whole thing can be struck, is what I'm hearing, is what I
That's
interpret.
If y'all agree with me, yeah.
Yeah, if it's there. we don't
Yeah,
need-
it is.
Does it include, planning and zoning, building and code enforcement?
Well, it says that, recommendations, that, hold quarterly roundtables with them and so forth. I think that's close enough.
Who holds the quarterly roundtable?
Well, that's a good question.
Here, her comment is.
Is to
very
collaborate,
specific
right.
To,
I think it would be smart to assume that when those references are made, that economic development would be part of
Yeah,
this whole
I think so.
No, it reads as if the city should continue and hold quarterly
Which would be-
roundtables with these organizations.
Right, which would be econ development, right?
I think that. Where is that? It now says task all city departments as a recommendation, task all city departments to collaborate with the local business organizations, including the Business Alliance, Industrial Council, and the Chamber. I would not want to take that out of the recommendation.
It was actually a part of Lynn's presentation last night.
Mhm.
She actually mentioned it, had a diagram of all the departments pointing at each other, and then she mentioned by name.
Each of
So,
them.
Yeah.
each you guys, yeah.
Here's something I just caught as a result of you going to finish our discussion on it, because I don't want you to thought on it, because I want to respond to.
My thought is just.
Okay,
is
yeah.
To leave it.
Yeah, right here, I've got, they're really, I probably mislabeled this. We've got two sets of recommendations.
Okay.
One set of recommendations, which really are the recommendations that we are making to the planning process, if you will, to the plan, to the council's thinking in the plan. The first recommendation that we're looking at here, where it's bulleted right under the,
Are you on page 4?
yeah, on page 4.
Ed Pack
Right,
recommendation plan text.
those are recommendations as it relates to the committee's experience. They're not recommendations for the plan. Which is, I probably shouldn't have used those words that way, both of those words in the same place.
I neither think these are part of our experience, nor do I think they should be removed.
Okay. All I'm saying is that the word EPAC recommendations under this section should be changed to something other than recommendation.
Well,
That-
it does say EdPAC recommendations plan text.
Right, and that's why I'm saying that given that this word recommendation, so that it doesn't get confused by council in seeing recommendation in two places as it relates to our comments about the plan, I'm saying let's change that word recommendation to something else so that we can avoid the possible confusion. Because we're giving two kinds of recommendations. We're giving recommendations for economic development, which is the EdPAC recommendations, which is general. And we're giving recommendations to the planning process.
We also have EdPAC recommendations for city departments and authorities.
Right, but that's all under the recommendations.
So what I
So
did,
why don't we make that feedback?
That would be perfect. Perfect. That's
That's
perfect.
just our committee's
Right.
feedback.
Feedback.
On this.
Correct, on this process. That would be perfect.
okay,
Feedback is a better word.
but what this says is add, what it says now, is add the word quality wherever high density is mentioned.
Right, which is feedback. Right.
Sounds like a recommendation to me.
Well,
I mean,
Okay.
add a word, it's a recommendation. And on the second one.
Okay, that one,
then maybe if we want to move that one to recommendations, if you will.
well, the second one is the same way as well.
Yeah, you might end up splitting that hair in too many directions if you start just frustrating yourself, because you're editing this, so.
Yeah, well, that's why I say feedback is a better word for me than moving any of this to the set of recommendations to the economic development planning process. So this is just feedback.
So instead of saying add the word quality, should the statement be that our committee's experience that the use of the word higher in examples like this, and don't make it a recommendation, that's
Right.
just our
Yeah,
conjecture. of
it's our,
the committee.
right, exactly. That's just our feedback. We don't want to take it to the level of a recommendation.
What is,
What's the difference between feedback?
no, I just said, what is the feedback that we're giving? You can't say add the word, because that's not feedback,
Right.
that's a recommendation. So how do we make this a feedback statement?
That's feedback in my mind, I guess.
Say consider.
How about EdPack plan text feedback?
About what?
Oh, you're
Plan
still
text
struggling with
feedback.
what to call it. But still here where you have the word hand, why don't you say consider using?
Yeah, consider using
word
quality. Right,
Wherever high density is mentioned.
right, right. Because that's only dealing with this part of the quote unquote recommendations, which we should change to feedback.
Okay, and I'll make
Yeah.
the second one say, consider.
Yeah.
as well.
I don't want to do a person by having fast forwarded.
No, that's what we're trying to
Yes, we
keep.
have, but we're going back.
We
to
do,
the-
but we're coming back.
And what do we want to call this?
I'm saying feedback. I like that word,
So you're saying EdPack feedback
feedback.
rhymes.
In fact, I would say EdPack feedback on plan document, so that they will
You can
understand.
say it.
Yeah,
There you go. Now we gotta go back to page 3.
Yes. We're on crime, the perception.
okay. Yeah, quite a bit underlined there that comes out, which basically leaves.
Yeah.
The bullets reported. And the last sentence of the bullet, I guess.
Yeah, somebody asked me to take out and until.
Okay, it doesn't, I mean,
I mean, I think,
I'm good
I
with
think
that.
and until is redundant.
it's fine, just take it out.
Okay, so the underlined sentence gets deleted. And in higher density development.
I think that really speaks to the one we just got discussing.
Yeah.
I think more specifically, how did I interpret this when I read it, which is why I put it on it.
It's fine just reading.
The underlying piece, okay.
And if I can give you quickly a little bit of background on this, you may remember that Jetta, your company, Villa, has 3 large, high-quality apartment complexes right around in Stonecrest, small area, some of the nicest in the city. So this is and that's what her company does anyway. So this is something that's very near to her.
Okay. All right.
And the words in order are just redundant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we come to the first or two items that are not, they're going to have recommendations as part of them.
Yeah, this
Or
is the feedback, right? This is the one we changed the feedback. And you've added, the city does not, other than the word quality, which we pretty much beat that one up. But the next sentence is, the city does not believe that economic development should reduce the city's attractiveness. And
Where are we? We're
This
back
is-
on
this is a-
4.
Yeah, we're on 4.
I thought we were still on 3 at the last bullet.
The last two bullets on three.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I thought we were
yeah,
finished.
plan could,
Okay,
and then the other bullet after that.
For whatever, it seems a little odd to me to have the reference to the slides.
well, the reason that I put that there, because I think it's wherever you can footnote something, you give a reference for a comment.
I'll put it in the footnote.
Hmm?
I'll put it in a footnote.
That's fine, that's fine. I just think, and this one is particularly I'm passionate about. And that's why I wanted to add the credence to it, because there's not a lot of, and I won't be long on this, just to say that there's not a lot of easily found data that connects school performance to economic development. But it's because a lot of people don't look at it. They don't see how it attracts high-income earners to a particular neighborhood when your schools do well, and how those high-income earners attract retailers. So that's why I put the footnote there.
So this is attracting retailers, it's not workforce.
No, this is, it could be both. It could be both. But my emphasis was on being able to attract high-income earners.
When you get this from me, would you add what you just said? Because you hear it says an asset to attract economic development,
Right.
and I think what you said was more,
Okay, I'll add,
more
High quality.
I'll add that.
No,
Well, high income earner.
that's what he said.
Well, high quality does the same. I mean, I think it does. I
mean,
personally see it the same way.
You know, it's also the value, house values.
Well, they do. I mean, because you have greater, but the next that connects, or the nexus there is that increased demand for anything is going to increase the value or the price. And so when you increase demand for housing,
Yeah.
you're going to increase the value of housing. So I think that it's, in summary sense, I think attracting high quality workforce does all that. I mean, I think.
I think it does, I'm just thinking you should connect the dots.
Okay.
Christian, yeah, something.
Yeah, so in 2017, Arizona,
Mhm.
I led the initiative for workforce recruitment. We called it the war on. Because a lot of what we were doing was losing high quality jobs and recruitment of talent because directly correlated with schools, public safety.
Right.
Those two pieces correlate very tightly. And actually, there is a lot of data correlating the quality of schools
Mhm.
and the location of quality jobs. We talk about quality jobs as in engineering,
Okay.
ed tech, medical tech companies, things like that, high wage earning individuals and companies. And so there's a lot of that. And actually, there's an entire, if you actually look in Arizona, there's now an entire program around workforce attraction and talent attraction as a result of that initial piece.
Okay.
And very much, it started really with a phone call from Mayo Clinic saying that they were recruiting a new CEO for the West Coast, which was out of Scottsdale.
Mhm.
And they were looking for anything that they could have that would put economic development on why they should choose
Right.
this location. And they were having a hard time.
Yeah.
And it was, and while we sat there very, like, oh, this will be easy, it's a layup.
Right.
economic development traditionally focused on 100% on jobs and CapEx.
Right,
And
right.
that is it. And so when you look at your attracting talent, all of a sudden you start tying into your tourism and
Right,
CBD.
right.
And it's quality of life, it's why you want to be there, it's safety, it's education, it's the programs.
Yeah.
Because this particular CEO actually had a special needs child.
Mhm.
So it's tying in all these pieces and stuff like that. So I think that you can sit there and definitely tie this in, but it's workforce attraction is very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Real quick, Stonecrest, our data, people come and look for us. How's our local data that accomplishes this, or do we still mostly have things at the county level?
They're not even at the county line as it relates to connecting those dots. Yeah, the school information is there, but connecting the dots between school performance.
Yeah, so it's there,
Yeah.
but maybe something you probably are already considering, but maybe something to be thoughtful about is how to make it easily connected to the dots of
Talent
potential.
attraction
Yeah,
will be a part of the
Yeah.
economic development plan.
All right, so the last bullet on that is plan does not address the significant present. Okay, that's me. No comments there from Dave.
What's the significance of them not addressing the core business?
What's the significance of them not addressing it?
Yeah.
Well, in summary, it's essentially ignoring 2 points. $98 million in revenue and 14,000 employees. That's one. The second is that according to the American Business Association, this is a part of that plan that I did with for the DeKalb County Economic Development Plan. 95% of growth opportunity for our economy exists outside of our country. And if we're going to be looking at economic development and growing our tax base and growing the number of businesses, we're going to have to give a concerted focus on the international business space, exports, imports, the companies that do that, as well as foreign-owned businesses.
Use the term FDI, which is foreign direct investment.
Yeah.
And that's the term on that. It's a market sector. In COVID, we came back to onshoring a lot of our manufacturing product that had gone offshore before. But with our industrial area and things like that, it's an area.
Right. And for new markets, because when you look at the growth rate of economies around the globe, it is so-called, I hate that term, but so-called third world countries, people that have come out of colonization as an example, those are the economies that are growing fastest than anybody else.
Heidelberg Materials, thank you.
Well, I mean, that's,
So,
yeah, that's gospel.
Should, when we get to the recommendation around it, should there be specific market segments?
I didn't want to get into that level of detail in this report. What I wanted to do is just make sure that it's on council's radar, that when they look through this voluminous document that they get from the consultant, they need to think about this because it ain't there.
Here's
That's
my,
all.
here's my concern.
I don't want to try to give them everything.
My concern is that the report has industry focuses that it recommends the city.
Target industry, right, the target industry.
And here, this is not an industry focus. And so what they could think was, well, we focus on healthcare and we need to make sure we're pay attention to the international part. We focus on manufacturing.
Which
And
is true.
this seems to me to imply that, I don't know if it's import export or what is the strongest segment should be added as a focus area.
And I would think that by putting it on, but I mean, we can, what I didn't want to do is try to be exhaustive in the recommendation. I wanted it to be a quick read and leave it to economic development to sort of drill the department to drill down in it as it relates to healthcare as an example. If you just said healthcare, they're gonna think of doctors, hospitals, and those kinds of things. They won't necessarily think of medical supplies that are coming in from some other part of the country, some part of having it on their radar, what's the international business component of this business? I think by putting it on the radar, then that's when the drill down.
Well, I think I'm not objecting to putting it on the radar.
Right.
I'm just wondering if,
We should drill down some more.
just a little.
Well, you've already got it.
Yeah.
In your different market sectors. Foreign direct investment is just where it's coming.
Yeah.
So manufacturing from foreign direct investment.
Right.
And, distribution, light manufacturing, all those different components really.
Yeah.
When you talk about foreign direct investment, you're talking about tech, you're talking about, manufacturing, and industrial. That's pretty much where that
Right.
is.
But I
Right,
gotta
but-
be honest,
but-
when I heard foreign direct investment, I really did like the idea of that in this bullet. And I don't know if a sentence about the size of what you just said,
Yeah, I can add that to it.
You know.
Yeah, I can add that to it. It's not a problem.
because that
But
would
what-
prompt me further.
Yeah, what's important about that as it relates to those various sectors is that to get into the international or the global market requires you to do something different than what you do domestically. Obviously, you got to be able, you got to look at tariffs that are going into those countries. You got to look at infrastructure and sell your product. You have to get permission, if you will, to sell to those countries. That's different than in the US.
Yeah.
So you got to do something different.
Yeah.
And Stonecrest needs to be in a position, particularly with this proximity, to say,
But we're not selling, they're doing business. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
where, that's really it's the fact that they are choosing to locate their business here versus someplace else.
Like
right.
some-
But what I'm
sometimes.
suggesting is
Yeah.
that we do it the other way as well. And that is that we have businesses here that are US businesses that are into global trade. And a good source of those new entrepreneurs, as an example, is Clarkston, because there are probably over 100 different countries that are represented in that Clarkston area. And if we can get entrepreneurs developed in Stonecrest, if we had an international development center and entrepreneur center, to get those folks that are in Clarkston to become entrepreneurs and set up businesses and start doing trade with their own companies, that increases Stonecrest taxpayers.
Or that are considering coming here and will make Stonecrest home to start.
And that's another
start an
advantage.
export business out.
But increasing trade, international trade between Stonecrest and the world is what the objective is. But anyway, we spent enough time there, but I'll
Works for me.
embellish that, yeah.
We're almost there,
Okay.
we're almost there.
The next thing we have is this committee experience section, which I recommended placing it after the conclusions.
Yeah, when I sent the deck out, the little sample deck out, what I thought about doing, and we can have a quick conversation about that, that's one option, was to simply give our experience up front. Right here, I have it in the middle in this plan. I mean, in our report, I have it in the middle, and it should not be in the middle. I don't think it should be either at the beginning or at the end. I thought it might be better at the beginning because it simply saves all of the meat for the last. It essentially gets sort of our experiences out of the way and what we think they can do. It kind of, for me, it's kind of like the preliminary, rather than having the preliminaries be the summation. The summation really needs to be about the market, in terms of our recommendations.
I could argue it both ways,
Okay.
but I always like to put meat at the beginning of the meal so that people don't fall asleep after eating dessert. So that's.
Okay, yeah,
If it's not-
I'm not wedded, I'm not wedded to it. It just doesn't belong in the middle, I don't think, and that's what I put it in.
Okay, and we renew and it's that. We, I think, are done with page 4. Brings us to page 5, which by the way has the headings on the bottom of page 4. This is recommendations concerning city departments and authorities. And I just added a couple of words to make sentences.
Okay.
Everything in the bullets looks great to me in the first quarter.
We're on page 5.
Mhm.
Should we consider adding the Heritage Alliance. for that first meal point.
Ravonda, what do you think about that?
I wonder.
Bernie, were you saying bullet number 1, page 5,
Yes,
adding the Heritage Alliance there in that section?
Oh, yeah. As a separate listed organization.
Was that what you were
And then
saying?
person,
Mhm.
yeah. The
There
Radio
any-
Mountain Heritage Area Alliance.
Are there any other non-business nonprofits that we should add?
no. I can't think of
I
that.
can't think of anything.
I mean, there are things like Citizens Coalition, but they're sort of different orientations. like you
Yeah,
say.
yeah. And I think the
I
big,
don't
yeah,
see us in this.
I think the
Later
big hitters ought to
survey
be the ones,
organization.
yeah, that we would,
Maybe Chase?
we can, I think we need to stick with the big hitters that are generating big relationships and, yeah. And then we can come back to the smaller ones at some point down the road and be iterative.
Up Radio Mountain Heritage Area Alliance.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
general
Thank you, Bernie.
recommendations.
Under general in that first one, as additional focus areas for economic development, there are 2 bullets. Also include providing a shuttle service that would connect the mall and NBWS. Not that the mall will ever always be there as well, New Black Wall Street, but do we want to say to the retail districts, the mall and retail districts, instead of specifically naming out New Black Wall Street? Likewise, we say Trailheads and the Flat Rock Archives. I don't think the archives won't ever be there, but is that more historical sites and attractions? So you don't just name one. There's the
Mhm.
Monastery of the Holy Spirit, there are the National Slave Cemetery, there.
Well, instead of calling out specific businesses, it's maybe sit there and say, use micro transit
Yeah.
to be more connected, to increase connectivity amongst the various geographic locations.
Yeah.
That,
I just think that, I understand the approach, but I think it's too vague. And
Okay.
also the reason I put in NBWS is that they are, albeit struggling, but they're trying to be a destination themselves.
Yes.
And if they succeed, then what gets marketed is visit NBWS, take the shuttle to A, B, C, D, or vice versa.
So you
Well,
see
well-
them on the back, sure.
Well, maybe then, to get through this, rather than putting a period at the end of Flat Rock Archive, maybe that's where you can do the others. if you will.
Mhm.
Or
Trailheads and the other historical
Yeah.
sites and historical
Right.
sites or historical destinations.
yeah, or say retail districts such as, or
Mhm.
destinations such as.
Yeah.
I think that would be good.
I
And-
don't think there's a such as for that.
We may not have any other, which one?
Mall and NBWS.
Or you just say retail district and then.
And then.
Right,
Such
such
as
as
Stonecrest
Stonecrest Mall
and
and.
Yeah.
New Black
and
Wall
that's
Street.
right.
So you don't limit a whole
Right.
lot of other folks that may not be in those footprints.
Right.
Remember, this is a
one
living,
spot.
it's a living, breathing plan. I don't know if you looked at the meeting last night, to see the presentation of the plan, but she was really, I think she was really good about hey, this is the slice as of February 2023. Anyway, retail districts such as,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and
Stonecrest Mall.
historical.
Can you add and future,
And historical
any
sites
future?
such as
attraction.
Flat Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Doesn't it go without saying? Doesn't it go without saying?
No.
Just any future
Yeah,
attraction.
right, that's, yeah. That doesn't add too many sentences. I mean, too many words.
It's my fault. I'm not gonna do it.
I was like, wait a minute.
That was easy.
And and you know that tortilla is getting cold over
Okay, anything about the next? Where are we?
Support the South River.
And promote our 4 Yeah, I mean, there may be more. I didn't know that. I mean, I know about those four, but I didn't know that there weren't others that we wouldn't support. But, so maybe and others
Yeah,
could go there as well.
I know the county is going to spend some money on the South River
Yeah.
this year.
I think north of here, there's,
The county is not
There-
serious.
Well, us, yes, but also, I saw an RFQ this morning where they're looking for folks to help, not the same section.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's a. County.
That came out from Watershed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We left off
Flat Rock.
What about it specifically?
South River as an emerging destination. For natural attraction.
I was really going for natural.
Natural, okay.
Mhm.
And the reason is, a long time ago, I made a comment to the team about trails. And what I meant was self-guided, automobile-driven tourist trails,
Mm.
rather than walk from A to B to C to D.
And soft trails, the paved trails. Mhm.
No, I didn't. Not when we get to
just a quick
This
time
might
check.
be
It is
referred to as windshield or riding.
7:35, just a quick time check.
And the second one, so I think there's a natural one, there's a historic and cultural one. Which somebody suggested, and I said this when I was talking for council, the slave trip. To be about, lynching sites, places where there are artifacts from plantations. And places of other historic cultural interest for the African American community.
Yeah, like Lion
In
Farm.
Stonecrest and Easton.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an example, which is why I think the others is important, I think the Native American history of the county or of the city is sorely lacked in terms of it being lifted, and it is a major piece of history.
And that whole statement might be summed up by saying to promote the natural culture, historical resources
Yeah.
of the national heritage.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it's all
And it's all of that,
those
yeah.
40,000 acres. So that pretty much covers
But
everything.
again, I'm gonna say that's too broad a statement. It's a great statement,
Mhm.
it's a true statement, but without giving us specifics to keep into.
Okay.
Now, I will make a note to myself that says, and other AMMH, A question mark, see how I.
Okay.
Okay, key barriers to development. To remove key barriers to development.
Okay.
Move as quickly as possible to revisit the agreement for police services and or move forward with the Stonecrest Police Department. Absolutely. And then the next one, I did not make any changes to.
Can we make one quick, I'm going to suggest a quick
Strong
add to the,
recommendation
which one?
About the I support revisiting the DeKalb County Agreement for Police Services, then we go on to say, and move forward with the Stonecrest Police Department. When at the mayor's recent address, her whole statement was to put a plan in place that evaluated us needing to do that. It didn't say move forward.
This is and or move forward. And they've got to do something up front. And even if by the way, I'll say, even if we move forward with a police department, our IGA with CAB or state law requires 2 years notice of that change. And
Well, an assessment would have to be done anyway, so,
And it does say and or, but also too, to this point, I wanted to come back to this bullet as well.
Yeah.
DeKalb County has a liaison. And I can't remember her name. I came here ready to mention her name and I forgot. I'm so sorry. But they have a liaison to Stonecrest in regards to that intergovernmental agreement. And I'm not saying there's no working with this person, there's no traction, but I've had a couple of conversations over the past year now. And we're probably not, as a city, leveraging that So even as we're talking about working with crime, part of that is also looking at that agreement itself and understanding what's in it and what we get, and then are we getting what we should be getting, right? So like, is there performance issues with regard to the agreement itself? So I
My
think there's work
understanding
in
is
there
there
to
are
do.
no performance standards.
Right, but
That's even
But
scary.
just, right, but just so that we're on track, what we're recommending though is at a higher level. And that is that they do this, they do something about the crime, and the police department is an approach to dealing with it. In terms of how they manage the agreements between us and Kev, it's probably kind of outside of economic.
The
development.
actual doing of the management of the agreements, I would agree, is detailed. But I still think it's high level to suggest that we explore that relationship with that liaison. I mean, you're literally there, we're paying for it, whether they do anything or not. And again, I don't know to what level of participation there is, but I do think that it could be a good part of this. I'm not going to argue, but I think it's a good part of this to say, because that is a practical next step. We just said here that the police department might be 2 years away, and I'm not saying strike it, I'm saying keep it.
It is at least.
At least, right. So I'm saying, but a practical step would be,
Or act,
hey, liaison, and see what goes from there. So I think it could be a part of this mix.
so we
Okay.
should revisit the IGA and or move forward, but also we should call the liaison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom. Leave it, yeah.
But remember, the city has hired
Our own liaison.
our own liaison,
As long
one,
as
and
they're
when you
working
say that
for
economic development doesn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I will tell you, every major developer that I've been talking to, has stated that, unless, you know what I'm going to say? Unless there is, police on task at the time that they are operational, they will not.
Yeah.
It's literally gonna be tied into development agreements. It's not a debate. It's
Can
a
that be
choice.
repeated publicly as part of this presentation?
Probably not.
I would suggest not.
Yeah.
I think that it's one of those that it's implied, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
coming.
yeah.
A lot of this is just, it's being said, one, and two, is publicly, it's already been said. So, and recorded, but it's also from the standpoint that it's just a reality that when in discussions with different development organizations, one of the key pieces to what they want to see in a development agreement is a crackdown on crime.
Yeah,
Attention on public safety.
right.
No.
And that's what we're saying. We're just saying crack down on crime.
Okay,
I'm
so
just
what are
saying,
the
add one more piece.
What are the specific recommendations for this? I was being tongue in cheek when I said, call the liaison.
Well, I think that's essentially what he's saying.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Whether it's our liaison contacting their liaison, I just feel like that's
Stronger liaison
Your people
relationship.
call them.
yeah, your people call them out, exactly,
Yeah.
but it's lower hanging fruit than.
How about review the
I'll-
existing
yeah.
IGA?
Yeah.
And make recommendations to.
Strengthen the
to
liaison relationship.
strengthen- not to strengthen the liaison relationship. No one cares
I know
about.
what you're about to
that
say. No, I
relationship.
know where you're headed.
It's to strengthen the agreement, everything, the existing IGA,
Right.
anything to apply more service.
Right.
Okay.
In a review with a liaison or without them or what have you, we may find, right, that there's not enough service or that certain things are not being done. To the developer's point, if we're supposed to have 12 and we got 6, we got a problem.
But there's nothing like that in the IGA.
Well, but again, then that would mean then there's not enough service possible.
We
I don't know.
We know there's not enough service.
Right, and I'm
But-
saying,
but
we
that's
don't,
an easy first start.
right, I'm saying deal with it at a high level. We don't want
Yeah.
to get into the AIGA. What we want to do is just simply what it is that we want this crime abatement, high level approach for economic development sake is.
Yeah.
And if that's revisiting the IGA with particular attention to the liaison, that's right,
You said it really well.
then that's what we got.
Better not get-
But we don't have to get into the IGA.
Yeah, like what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
How are we on time, sir?
We are past by
It's 10 o'clock. It's a
14
typical
minutes.
council.
It's 7:44. I'm hoping we can knock the rest of this out real quick.
Yeah,
Okay,
bullet
I will,
point was
I
my
will
only
chew
issue.
on that. I'll chew on that as well.
We really know.
I don't
Ensure that
understand
we
the
are fully
next-
leveraging the liaison.
The next bullet, if somebody can help me with that.
Somebody that-
Establish
somebody-
standing council community committee.
Oh, that's me.
That's your T? Is that your?
No, not my T. This is my comment. Somebody's T. What I'm recommending here, and it's probably poorly worded, because I think I looked at it this afternoon and said it's poorly worded. But essentially what it is saying is that there be a committee like this one, a council community committee to deal with the education of the lack of performance really with our schools. And that group be responsible for evaluating the performance and recommending initiatives to the DeKalb County Schools to address the performance deficit that impacts Stonecrest's economic development appeal to businesses and the workforce. It's a little wordy, but it's saying what we said earlier, that there needs to be an operative component to deal with this issue. It doesn't need to be on the radar. There needs to be an operative limb. And I'm suggesting that it be a committee.
I think that you're approaching it from a lens of review and expectation that's probably K through 12, in my experience, it has, I think everybody's being that K through 12. And it, and my opinion is more about being a partner and finding ways and avenues for the city to work together with our K through 12 partners to enhance the services and create opportunity for the citizens and the youth of Stonecrest. Period. It's not we're going to create another committee to review what you're doing, because that's one government. We're doing another government entity.
No.
Because that's what K through 12 is. It's
No.
not a city thing.
No, I know it's not a city thing, which is why I think there needs to be a functioning body that the city needs to collaborate with, why the committee, community council recommendations that I'm making, that it needs to be operational to get a handle on the performance of our schools. I think that actually comes down to both dealing with the communities. When I say communities, not just the school community, but people who are going to those schools, but the institutions around them that are in Stonecrest, as well as DCSS. So I don't think it needs to be kind of out there and based on cooperation. I think there needs to be a focus from within the city. And I think it needs to be community led, but I think it needs the support of the city to give it strength.
And that committee would be mostly to highlight successes and
Correct.
things that don't work, that would continue to
Absolutely.
attract people
Absolutely,
that would come here
Right.
for economic development and growth.
absolutely. And I understand what,
We do too
right,
well,
right.
yeah.
I understand
I'd like
what
to
Christian is saying,
suggest-
but it needs to be stronger than that. And I'm telling you that based on experience.
I'd like to suggest two changes.
Okay.
The first is to remove the words evaluate school,
I don't think so.
because the school performance, you can look it up. I mean, there's tons of,
No, but here's what I can tell you from experience. When you go and look at those numbers, you can see where challenges are with in terms of why the schools aren't performing as well as they do.
Yeah.
You can see that. And I'm saying you need to be able to evaluate that in order to make recommendations both to the community as well as to the school district.
well, it sounds, to Christian's point, it sounds like you're saying evaluate the schools.
I am saying that, and I'm
Aren't-
saying that the
aren't you
communities need to
saying-
do that. I don't think it needs to be left to the schools.
How are they going to evaluate?
Because the data is at the State Department of Education, Georgia's Department of Education.
They've already evaluated.
No, they haven't. They just report the numbers. They just report the numbers. Trust me. I know exactly
So
what
you're
I'm talking
saying
about.
that if there were a committee that could evaluate and look at what it was and then
Make some recommendations to
And
approve.
then show value in having done that.
Exactly.
Because I'm looking for the part that drives economics.
Exactly. And that's what and I'm saying the part that drives economics is the performance of the school.
So having a committee that focuses
Having a
on
committee-
that, lifts those successes out,
Right.
it says back. to
And identify
educators
the
and
gaps as well, not just lift up the failure, the success. I'm saying identify, 75% of schools in Stonecrest are performing in the bottom 25% of the state and the metro area.
Yeah.
I'm saying that undermines our competitiveness in terms of being able to attract those kinds of people we're talking about. And we don't
and
have
the
a
quality of life for those very people. that we're all
Absolutely.
describing.
Absolutely. And so if we don't do something about that pointedly, it will never get fixed. And that's from experience. So
And
we
is
need to
that a
say,
good recommendation from this committee?
Yes.
I don't disagree with that statement.
I think it is
Feel passionate
absolute.
about it.
I think it absolutely.
Well, what about keeping evaluate school performance and adding the word metrics after performance?
I don't have a problem with adding metrics. I just don't think metrics are the only factor. I think there are other factors that are involved, and I think they are much more community related. I think as an example, that churches probably ought to be more involved, and I think the city can help sell this to churches and other large organizations. They ought to be more involved in getting their members to be more engaged in, say, PTA.
So one of the performance things you would have this committee look at is what percentage of churches are involved with schools.
Or any other organization. It could be churches, it could be NAACP, it could be any civic organization, it could be an HOA.
But that's not in evaluating the school performance.
No, I'm saying evaluating the school performance tells you where the problems are in the schools. When you find out what the problems are in the schools, then you need a solution. I'm saying the solution can't be from the community to change the academic curriculum as an example. That's the school
Yeah.
district part. But what the community can do is engage more parents. It can engage the school districts on where they need to put more resources, because we, based on our knowledge of what's going on in these schools, there aren't enough resources doing A or doing B. I'm saying that's the kind of relationship needs to be established.
To what level would the board member be involved in this
Well,
case?
I'm trying to keep from politicizing it, but, to your point, I think that has a lot to do with the board members in terms of engaging the community, because that's what the essential board member is. It is the community liaison, if you will.
And this stays as it is, other than adding recommend initiatives with DCSS and other organizations.
Yes, and other organizations.
Okay. We already hit the final bullet on the
We did that
page,
last one.
which brings us to one bullet and some conclusions on page 6.
I would propose adding at the end of that sentence, or that bullet, using it for maybe amount of conservation overlay and existing industrial areas. We should not have industrial spread outside of existing areas. On the other hand, we should not have encroachment into.
I think that's good.
That's worth saying.
That's creating problems right there. A lot of.
Okay.
And this was just kind of a summary statement. So, however you want to,
I have a suggestion.
okay.
Consultant's plan is generally excellent.
Yeah, the word I didn't like is excellent. I did not like that word. So I don't think that word needs to be added. And the reason that I don't think it needs to be added is because it is, from my perspective, it is absolutely gratuitous. Because I think it's a good plan. I think it's the baseline plan, but it is not excellent. And these are experienced eyes.
Would it be too much to say that the EdPAC thoroughly read and reviewed and thought we found, and that there are several opportunities for improvement?
Yes.
Just to get rid
You
of
guys
the.
are hard asses.
Hey,
of the
hey,
consultant's plan.
this is our moment. This is our moment. This is the first one. We got to hit it on the head.
You have to time
We're
that
not-
correctly.
Paid to grade it, but we're human beings being nice to other human beings. So
That's
that
not what this
everybody-
job
You're doing it
That's
by,
not what
by
this
the
does.
points of the, and the
Yeah.
measures.
That's
of your-
not the way I
of your
manage the open
recommendation.
organization.
So do that.
Hey,
That's how
I-
you grade it.
I'll just say that.
But yeah, for me, it's business. This is business.
And for me, it's about people, relationships.
We can deal
as
with
well
that when
as
we see that. But when it comes to a
Thoroughly
report, a
read,
document,
plan,
it needs to be clear and specific.
And we found several opportunities for input.
Correct.
You gotta
Yeah,
be
I like
careful
that.
how much you praise certain things.
There you go.
Get back, like,
Just
Absolutely.
commit to what we say we do.
Absolutely.
We've been
Okay, what do we
fairly
wanna say then?
participating in the process.
What do we want to say?
We want to take out
And our
excellence.
recommendations.
You know
are-
that.
Well, yeah, but
I-
that makes it sound like I was grammar.
That's gonna be bad. Ravonda, I think, has a good.
Yeah,
pulse
yeah,
on-
yeah, I like the way she was
Yeah,
counting.
I like what I was saying.
I mean, I just wanna. I just wanna end the assignment well. I mean, we've been taken
Yeah.
serious as a committee. Come on, how much time that this director and the mayor has come in here.
Well, we'll know
Our
that when
input
they,
has
when they
been
accept
valuable.
our report. That's when we will know how.
That's what
I'm not
we're
that
about.
Christian hasn't, but I'm
Just
talking about
get
from
your
the plus
voice
the
out
funders.
there in the comment traction is as much a part of the process.
Oh, I agree
Because
with
our
that.
comments are no more important than every resident that's commented.
That is correct.
So I don't say, if they don't take ours, and that thing's.
Well, ours is
No,
the recommendation from the community. I mean, that's what we represent. We represent at large, the community.
I like that second sentence. The enhancements we recommend are not intended to second guess, but come from using our collective and intimate knowledge of Stonecrest. And I love that.
That humanizes
That is the
very well.
meat of us trying not to. be
Right. We're not trying to be
condescending
punitive or
judge a
not, right,
document that we all.
right. We're not
pay
trying to do
for.
that.
Okay, so I gotta take you out excellent. How do I make that sentence be grammatical?
Oh, okay, well, we can do the
Yeah.
dramatics.
well, we could do like,
Ronnie,
Juan
you-
Maria
you
Samaraj,
understand.
after we have that, Olympic said, this has been a remarkable.
Thank you, Bernie, for wasting your.
Yeah, getting giddy now, come on. We're almost done. Let's take this on home.
Look at all of these remarks.
No, let's take this, no, let's take this home. Let's take this home right now. Let's take this home.
Okay.
All right. All right, so your concern is that, I think that the plan, I mean, well, those are my words. So I'm supporting their original words. And that is, so,
Not an insult.
yeah, I mean, that's where I am.
Yeah, but you had the consultant's plan is, I believe, and then it
Right, that's it.
was, and then, although we found several opportunities for improvement.
Oh, okay, I'm at
How
a
about
budget
very
center.
good?
I think, yeah.
Commendable, or something like that.
No, I think
Good
the
idea.
plan is,
Any.
yeah, commendable. Commendable is a
Some
good
of my
word.
co-chairs on this.
Commendable.
Commendable is a good word.
There you go.
Yeah.
Commendable.
Commendable.
An
Hopefully they don't
honorable
watch this,
mention.
meeting.
Well, it's gonna.
Right. Or none of these words are gonna stick.
This meeting is in the records,
None
bro.
of these words are gonna mean anything.
Does that,
And the
Bring us to
citizens,
the
and
end of-
hey, and the citizens will be proud of us, because we debated, we deliberated. We didn't just,
There you go.
you know.
Okay, so excellence becomes commendable and everything else stays.
stays the same?
Beautiful.
We did it, young.
All right,
You should
Well-
have,
Well,
you
that's
should
how you
have the
can-
edited version when you get up in the morning.
all right, perfect. If I can have the edited version
You
Early
got
in the
midnight
morning.
deadline.
early in the morning, you have a midnight deadline,
Oh.
so I can get this to Christian before noon.
I'm gonna visit with my friend, go down to Telos and visit my friend for a
Okay.
couple
All
hours.
right. Well, if
And then
there,
do it.
are there any other comments?
I had some, but I'll just put them in my original.
Okay.
In the interest of let's get out here.
Okay, all right.
I
Thank you.
have one public statement. That is, if I ever, offend you, I apologize.
We're gonna adjourn the meeting.
Yes, I adjourn, the meeting is adjourned if there are no objections.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you all.
We got it done. We got it.